You want to start the ketogenic diet, but it all seems so overwhelming and you're just not sure where to start. In this video, I'm going to give you a simplified, complete guide to the ketogenic diet so you know exactly how to begin. But before we get started, I'm Dr. Nick Zyrowski and I started my holistic health practice in order to help you take control of your health naturally, because true health only comes naturally. I also want to mention I started a brand new community for the Wellness Warriors. If you want to join the Wellness Warrior community, text this number right here and you're in. Keto is a high-fat, moderate protein, low carbohydrate diet that turns your body into a fat-burning machine. So that way you're burning the fat on your body versus stored sugar for energy. Now, this is known as a state of ketosis. People who follow the ketogenic diet see many benefits like weight loss, reducing of inflammation. They see many health conditions start to reverse, like insulin resistance. And the ketogenic diet is highly beneficial for those who are suffering from a neurological condition. I had a lady I was working with, and she was about 100 pounds overweight when she first came to me. She had an inflammatory condition, she had insulin resistance, and she also had PCOS. In about 6 months' time, she was not only able to lose 25 pounds, but she also was able to reduce her A1C score. She was also able to reduce inflammation in a huge way in her body. Also, she made huge headway in reversing her PCOS. Now, this was all largely in part due to the ketogenic diet. When you start the ketogenic diet, it can take upwards of 2 to 6 weeks before you enter into the state of ketosis. How you'll know is you'll actually want to measure, and you can measure using something called a precision extrameter. This is a meter where you'll take a little pinprick, get a little sample of blood, touch it to the stick, and then the meter will tell you the level of ketones in your blood. Now, this will allow you to know exactly when you get into the state of ketosis or how far along you are. And what I'll do too is I'll put a link to this meter in every other resource along with some downloadable guides in the description below, so that way you can go through this entire video and you can hear all this information and then go to the resources and you'll have the complete guide as to what you need to do to really master the ketogenic diet. Now, I wouldn't really bother testing the first multiple days when you start the ketogenic diet because, like I said, it's not going to happen overnight. It can take time. So I would say about 3 to 4 days in, give yourself a test and see how far along you are into the state of ketosis and if you've gotten there yet. And then you can just keep following that along the way. While you're adapting to the ketogenic diet and you're training your body to be a fat burner instead of a sugar burner, there's something that can happen that's not so pleasant, and that's called the keto flu. The keto flu literally holds people back from doing the ketogenic diet because they're like, I heard of this keto flu thing and I want nothing to do with it. Now, if the keto flu hits, it's something that you'll definitely know is there. You'll have a lack of energy, you'll have a lack of focus, some people can have some nausea, even some headaches. But the good news is there's some tricks that you can employ in order to bypass the keto flu. One of the things that you're going to want to do during this transition period from a sugar burner to a fat burner is you're going to want to stay very well hydrated. That's very important. The other thing that you can do is add in a lot of pink salt, okay? Put a lot of pink salt on your food. You can even put some in water, mix it up and drink it. The other thing that you'll want to do too is use something like an electrolyte powder. Use an electrolyte powder in order to keep your electrolytes up. It's very important during this transition period. So stay hydrated, drink lots of electrolytes. Now, another thing that you can do too is add in MCTs. I like to add in MCTs, and one of the other things I want to mention that can be highly beneficial is using exogenous ketones. That one's a little bit more negotiable. It's not something you have to do, but certainly lots of electrolytes, staying well hydrated, that's going to be the key to transitioning from the sugar burner to the fat burner and bypassing the keto flu. Now, when I first started doing the ketogenic diet personally, all this information wasn't out there. So when I would go through that metabolic transition period, I would feel horrible. I'd be having cramps and headaches, and I'd be fatigued and grumpy. And now that I know that I have to stay well hydrated, take those electrolytes, and I use MCTs as well, I literally can go through that transition period without a single problem. As you become more metabolically flexible, you'll be able to go from a sugar burner to a fat burner much easier. Whereas if you're somebody who's been a sugar burner for a long period of time, it takes time and it even can be a little bit uncomfortable the first time you make that transition, but it is life-changing, there's no doubt. As far as electrolytes are concerned, as I mentioned, you can use the pink salt and an electrolyte powder or one or the other. It doesn't really matter how you break it down. I personally like to take the pink salt, put lots of it on my food. I don't like drinking salty water though. I'm just not one of those salt people. However, the electrolytes, pour a scoop of that in the water and enjoy it. I'm a big fan of that. that. When it comes to the MCTs, one of the things I use is an MCT powder. The liquid gives me a lot of gastrointestinal distress. Now, most people who are going into the ketogenic diet are using MCTs in some form. Just know that the liquid does cause gastrointestinal distress with a large group of people, whereas the powder does not. You don't want to be one of those people who's, adding that in while you're at work and then have some serious gut issues for the rest of the day. Another way that I boost getting into the state of ketosis is by exercising. One of the best exercises that you can do is something called high intensity interval training or HIIT training. This high intensity interval training, what it does is it increases the rate of fat oxidation and therefore really forces your body to start producing ketones, which get you into the state of ketosis much faster. Now, it's not necessary to do this every single day. I typically recommend during this time every other day so that you're not overstressing your body. But it is, once again, critically important to make sure that you're staying well hydrated and keeping your electrolytes up. One of the things that kept happening to me when I first started the ketogenic diet, now remember, I didn't have a big guidebook back then. I kept getting really bad muscle cramping. I'd be getting twitching and muscle cramping in my feet at night, and it was really frustrating to me, and I kept drinking water and making sure I was staying well hydrated. Well, the missing link was the electrolytes. You have to keep those electrolytes high because not only are you going to get muscle twitching and cramping, but also you'll just have this lack of energy that feels horrible all the time. So we want to make sure we avoid that. Now, beyond measuring your ketone levels in the body in order to determine if you're in ketosis, there's a few symptoms and signs that you can look for. One is going to be you'll have a decrease in cravings for sugar and carbohydrates. Another will be you'll start to notice that you have your energy back again. Your focus will come back just like you've never had it before. And regarding the energy, you'll find that your energy just lasts throughout the entire day versus having those afternoon crashes. You'll also find that you start to lose some fat on your body. Okay, you'll start to see the scale go down. You'll start to see that your clothes fit a little bit better. And then you'll also notice that you'll have a decrease in inflammation. And one of the ways that you can tell that your inflammation is decreasing in your body is you'll just notice that your joints don't ache anymore and you just don't have those little pains and twinges all over your body that you're normally facing. And by the way, wellness warriors, I know that this is a lot of information in a short period of time. I specifically designed it this way though so that you could get the information you needed quickly and also easily share this with your friends. Remember, take a deep breath and I'm going to put a lot of resources for you in the description. But let's talk about some of the fun stuff. Let's talk about some of the foods that you should and shouldn't eat because this is really the core of the ketogenic diet. Let's first start with the foods that you have to avoid, okay? It's very important to make sure that we're avoiding all the different refined carbohydrates. We're thinking snack foods, breads, pastas, bagels, chips, all of that needs to go. We want to focus on going 100% sugar-free at this time. That means no sugar in your coffee, no sugar-filled snacks. We want to make sure that we're not drinking soda at this time. If we want to get into ketosis, we have to go sugar-free because we can't be in a fat-burning state and a sugar-burning state at the same time. We have to burn through those sugar stores in our body and then transform into a fat burner and then make sure that we're giving our body adequate fat so that we can produce ketones in the body. Another thing that we have to make sure that we're doing is staying away from starchy vegetables. We're thinking things like corn and potatoes here. We also want to avoid certain fruits well on the ketogenic diet, and we're thinking our big fruits. We're thinking bananas, we're thinking mangoes, those fruits that have a high sugar content. I mean, if you look at mangoes, for instance, there's upwards of 40 grams of sugar in just one single mango, and there's no doubt that that will actually block ketosis. Now, the good news is that we can still have fruit well on the ketogenic diet. We just have to keep it in moderation. Some of the best fruit that we can have is going to be berries because they're going to be micronutrient dense and they also have a very low glycemic level. My favorite berries that I have are blackberries, strawberries, and also raspberries. On the ketogenic diet, we can also have an avocado. Avocados are great. This is also considered a fruit, by the way. Lemons, limes, and also we can eat grapefruit. We just have to keep that in very low moderation. Now let's talk about the foods that you can eat and should eat well in the ketogenic diet. I'm going to give you a whole list. So if you're going to the grocery store and you just started the ketogenic diet, you will want to have these items on your grocery list. First on our list is going to be cream cheese, butter, and also heavy whipping cream. These are in a lot of different ketogenic recipes. We want to make sure that we have these on hand. Cheese of all sorts. I mean, really, cheese is in everything on the ketogenic diet. Eggs as well. People go through a lot of eggs. I typically find that people will burn through 3 to 6 eggs a day while on the ketogenic diet. Maybe they make themselves an omelet. Maybe they're just making some baked goods, but a lot of eggs are used while on the ketogenic diet. Bacon's a big one. You're gonna find that in a lot of recipes. Sweeteners, okay? Because we got rid of all the natural sugars, let's say we got rid of, maple syrup and we got rid of honey and we got rid of the table sugar and we got rid of the bleached white sugar, all that stuff is gone. Now we want something that tastes sweet, however, it doesn't raise our blood sugar. We're gonna be thinking stevia, xylitol, erythritol, and monk fruit, okay? Those are all good natural sweeteners to use. Salmon, lots of good fatty acids in that. Chicken, beef, coconut flour, and almond flour. These two flours are going to replace your traditional wheat flour. So if you make bread in your home or you cook at all and you're using wheat flour, this is your replacement flour. Avocados, typically people on the ketogenic diet eat like a half to a full avocado per day or even more than that. Spinach is also a big one. Cabbage is huge as well. These are great veggies to have on the ketogenic diet. Cauliflower, you can make so many different delicious recipes with cauliflower. Asparagus, and lots of cruciferous vegetables, okay? Then next is gonna be sea salt. I mentioned before, we have to keep our sodium levels up. We have to keep our electrolyte levels up. We want pink salt, we want Himalayan salt. We gotta have that salt so that we keep those electrolytes flowing in our body. Also, getting something called no salt. Many people use this as well. I use this, I personally have this in my kitchen right now. The no salt is a potassium. It's not sodium, but just plain old potassium, which it's good to have lots of potassium well on the ketogenic diet because you're not necessarily holding it as well in your body, so adding some in is very powerful. Olive oil, coconut oil, and also macadamia nuts. Macadamia nuts is a real go-to staple on the ketogenic diet because it's something you can keep in your car, you can keep in your desk at work, and if you need a little snack, you have them there. And it's important initially to really push these good fats because this is what's going to allow your body to start producing ketones so that you can enter into the state of ketosis very efficiently. So have these good fats on hand and eat a lot of them. Now there's a lot of mistakes that people make while following the ketogenic diet that literally stop them from ever getting results. So we have to make sure that we watch out for these common ones. So I'm gonna teach you about the top mistakes you must avoid. First on our list is going to be not getting enough leafy greens in. A lot of people who start the ketogenic diet do not eat enough leafy greens. They don't get enough kale, enough spinach, enough cabbage, enough cruciferous vegetables. And one of the things that they find happens to them is that because they're not getting that fiber in, they start to get very constipated. This is a very common side effect for people who start eating a ton of fat but not enough fiber. They get constipated and they don't feel well. So get lots of fiber in and also eat nice big salads and get lots of those leafy greens in every single day. They're very important. Another huge mistake people make is consuming far too many carbohydrates. Many people are coming from really carb-rich diets and then they're going to the keto diet, which has pretty much none, and so therefore they struggle with it a little bit. Using apps like the Carb Manager app or the Chronometer app is really important for managing your macros. In the beginning especially, you want to make sure that you're writing this stuff down because it's very easy to get it wrong. Mark this stuff down, and as you start to really develop a sense of what you should eat on a day-to-day basis, it won't be as important, but especially in the beginning, we want to be doing this. Which now leads me to this. I have people tell me all the time, Dr. Zyrowski, I'm so frustrated. I'm following the ketogenic diet. I'm not losing weight. I'm not hitting my goals. I'm not getting any results and I'm so frustrated. Look, if you want to follow the ketogenic diet and you want to get results, you have to be in the state of ketosis. One of the big mistakes people make is that they don't ever measure their ketones to figure out whether or not they're getting into ketosis or not. You don't know. If you're not measuring, you don't know if your exercise, if the food that you're eating, if the lifestyle that you're living in general is moving you closer to your goals or further away. You cannot manage what you can't measure. You have to go in there and start measuring your ketones so that you can know if you're getting into the state of ketosis. Now, I like to use the precision extra meter, as I mentioned, and what you want to look for on that is you want your ketone levels to be between 0.5 and 3 millimoles per deciliter, and that will prove to you that you are in the state of ketosis and you're in a good, healthy spot. Now, in order to optimize the ketogenic diet, there's a strategy that you can add in, and that is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting really enhances the whole experience. It helps you get into the state of ketosis faster. It helps you maintain the state of ketosis. But the other thing that is good for is helping you not overconsume food throughout the day. Now, the best practice when it comes to doing intermittent fasting in the ketogenic diet, the one that's most commonly used is going to be 16 and 8, okay? That's where you fast for 16 hours and you eat all your meals within an 8-hour period. An example of this would be, at night, you stop eating at 8 o'clock and then you have your first meal the next day right around noon. Now, some people do one meal a day, but let me tell you, best practice is going to just be doing 16 and 8. and it works very well. Now, what about your macros? This is referring to the amount of fat, protein, and carbohydrates that you're going to consume on a day-to-day basis. A lot of people get caught up in this, but the fact is it's pretty simple. When we look at macros from a high-level overview, and we're really to break down all the foods that you're going to eat from a percentage basis on a day-to-day basis, we would be consuming 60% fat, 30% protein, and 10% carbohydrates. I don't want to start throwing a whole bunch of numbers and calculations at you and confuse you, but what I will do is I'll put in the guide below how you can figure out the proper macros for you, because obviously they're going to change from one person to the next based on your age, your gender, your weight. So we have to know who you are as an individual to figure out your macros. Now, the most important macro that you're going to want to measure is going to be your carbohydrates. This is the one that people mess up the most. So make sure that you get your carbohydrates down first. Carbohydrates, when you're starting off the ketogenic diet, are going to be somewhere right around 20 grams of carbs per day. Now, if you're somebody who's insulin resistant, you might even have to be a little bit lower than that in order to get into the state of ketosis. Once you get into ketosis, you can typically raise those carbohydrates up to between 20 and 50 grams of carbohydrates per day safely. Now, one of the things that a lot of people ask me is, do you follow the ketogenic diet permanently, constantly, day in and day out? Truth is that I use the ketogenic diet as a tool, as a strategy, but not a lifestyle. When I follow the ketogenic diet, it's typically for no longer duration of 30 to 60 days, and then I come off of it and I transition into a healthy low-carb diet. Now, some people will follow it longer for that, but it really depends on your goals and what you're trying to accomplish for your body. If I, at the time, have no purpose for the ketogenic diet in my lifestyle, then I don't use it. Now, if I was trying to lose weight, if I was trying to overcome some health problem, I would certainly use the ketogenic diet. So I want to be clear that this is not something that you need to get on and follow for the rest of your life. Use it as a tool, but not a permanent lifestyle. I also want you to remember that as you embark on the ketogenic diet, it won't be perfect. There's going to be days where you have fear and frustration and doubt, and you're like, why am I doing this stupid diet anyway, right? I mean, this is totally normal because, as you approach something that you're not familiar with, it always happens. But the most important thing is that you remember in the back of your head your goals and what you're trying to achieve with your health. And remember that me telling you it's not going to be perfect and there will be some roadblocks in the way. And this is what's going to allow you to push through. And remember that every day is a new start, so that even though you're frustrated one day, maybe you even mess up, you start the next day and you start over, you have that fresh start and you get back on track. And if one of the main reasons that you're following the ketogenic diet is because you want to lose weight, then you're going to want to watch this video right here. When you're following the ketogenic diet, it's still very important to exercise. Now, you don't have to go and do heavy weight training. You don't have to go and do, heavy long distance running. But what you need to do is you need to just get out and start moving.